Hello and welcome to the On Your Head Son podcast. We are live and in person this week in Winchester.
Yeah, Winchester.
Viva Winchester.
Allez.
We have come back to watch two very different types of football match this weekend. We started off with the thrilling Southampton versus Burnley down at St Mary's. And then last night we stayed up till 3:30am watching the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So we're going to start by talking about a very different type of football. Thankfully, the Philadelphia Eagles beat Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Fly, Eagles, fly!
Matt, welcome, and what was your highlight?
Highlight of the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Highlight of the Super Bowl was obviously Travis Kelce crying at the end. It was brilliant. I mean, to be honest, he's so smug all the time, and it was just good to see him getting knocked off his pedestal. Up the Eagles, let's go.
Woo! But you didn't really say that. The game itself wasn't actually very good.
The game was dreadful. I mean, if anyone stayed up to watch it and that's your first experience of an NFL game, it's not always like that. The last two Super Bowls have been amazing before this. But yeah, this one wasn't great, so don't judge it just from that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not your first time, but your sort of relative newbie, Andy, to American football, was that a good advert for the sports?
It wasn't a good advert for the sport, no. I've been watching a lot of people play Madden and college football. That's a lot more entertaining. Don't worry about real life stuff. Just do that instead.
So you haven't been converted.
No.
But Andy, for once, did make it to the end without falling asleep.
I stayed awake for the first time in the Super Bowl.
However, sadly, that wasn't the case for all of us. I did fall asleep in the last quarter, but you can't blame me because it was really one-sided and really quite boring.
Yeah.
But let's move on from that fake egg ball shaped football and let's move to the real game.
Yes.
It wasn't the only dull game of the week, as we said. We did watch Southampton versus Burnley, which you picked out as a game to watch.
Yes. Great choice.
Tell us about Southampton Burnley.
Well, I'm depressed even more. It was 1-0 to Burnley. They deserved it. Scott Parker played boring football and we looked rubbish. We couldn't get past it.
Couldn't agree more. Being a Southampton fan is just a bit miserable and despairing at the moment, so probably enough about that. And then Matt, you're going to pick up a little bit about Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid.
Well, yeah, obviously we recommended that one as well.
Yeah.
It was 1-1. Not much happened in that game at all. Watch the highlights and yeah, again, really boring game. So really don't trust us for our opinions, and that's about it, really.
Yeah, that's what we've learned.
Don't trust our predictions, indeed.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do now is summarise some of the actual bigger stories of the weekend. So City just about snuck past Leyton Orient. Man United stumbled past Leicester City in the FA Cup with a late offside goal with Harry Maguire. Villa beat Tottenham. Should Ange be sacked now? Surely, maybe. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Plymouth Argyle beat Liverpool and knocked them out of the FA Cup. Andy, any highlights from those games or any other highlights over the weekend for you?
Well, obviously just the 1-0 to Plymouth. Beating Arne Slot. It's beautiful.
It's the end of the slot machine.
Exactly. They can't do the quad. So that's good.
That is good. We do like that. And Matt, what stood out for you?
Marcus Rashford. Rashford's back. Rashford's back, everyone. One nutmeg. That's all you need. That's all you need. Actually, to be fair, Asensio apparently looked really well.
Really well. That's good. I'm really happy that Asensio was
very healthy.
Whereas Marcus Rashford does not look very well.
He does not look well.
No.
He looks pretty ill, actually.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that Marcus Asensio looks well.
He's looking well.
So, anyway, we teased it a second ago. We're going to have a little conversation on Big Ange here. We actually spoke about this, I believe, last week. Or might have been a couple of weeks ago. And I think opinions may have changed. So Andy, where do you stand on Big Ange? Do you still think he should be the Tottenham Hotspur manager?
Absolutely not. He is not the good man. I mean, how many times can he play the same modern football and lose? It's not about looking pretty, it's about getting results. And he does not do that. He blames the fixture this Saturday, Thursday. Yes, he's had injuries, but it's not an excuse for where they are this season.
I don't disagree with you at all. Matt, you actually said you predicted that he would get sacked if he lost to Villa at the weekend. But do you believe that? Do you think that is what should happen?
I don't really know because, again, I think like we said earlier, I don't think there's any like natural replacement to him at all. So, and also the way he's playing is massively hindered by the injuries and stuff like that. So the senior players who aren't fit enough really to play that Sunday, Thursday kind of routine, and then 17, 18-year-olds getting just literally put into this failing squad really at the moment with all the kind of key men out. So yeah, the centre back's obviously been a massive issue for them. So I'd leave them in. I'd leave them in because they're not in any trouble really to go down. It's basically almost like one of those seasons where almost like just write it off and just start again fresh in the summer. But he does always win a trophy in his second year.
Yeah.
So Premier League, here we come.
Just
Europa League.
Europa
League. Sorry, yes.
No, I think I have to agree with Andy. I think it's just his general demeanour has changed like massively. When he first came, he was like super sprightly, like saying like, I don't need to play FPL anymore with my mates. I'm playing the real thing now. And he's now gone and he's just grumpy. He's moaning. He's avoiding questions. He's being rude. It just looks like it's time to go. It really does.
Yeah.
I think for Tottenham, but also for him as well. He just looks miserable. I kind of feel sorry for him.
Yeah,
I really do. Yeah.
Get out.
Get out.
Shift it.
Maddie, phone call. Get him off the podcast. Right, okay. Well, we were going to do a little bit of a Saints special this week, but the game was so boring at the weekend that we couldn't actually say anything. So we're going to skip that. We're going to save it for another week.
Yes.
Another week where we lose 1-0 or 5-0 or 4. Could be 3. And let's do a little prelude to the midweek game. So, if you're following us on Instagram and TikTok, you will probably have seen my rant over the last week on the Champions League format. The Champions League is back this week, and you'll be pleased to know that there is games of jeopardy happening. There's actual knockout games, which means it will be exciting for a change.
No.
Hey, Andy?
No, not at all. But we won't get into it.
Moving on. Let's move swiftly on, and let's just quickly talk about the big game. And it is a big game because it's been over the last 4 or 5 years. I think they played each other 3 maybe times. Manchester City versus Real Madrid. Matt, how do you see this one panning out?
I see a City sneak through. In the second leg. I think, I obviously Real Madrid really could just beat them on the counter here. Vinicius and Mbappe really tearing up the no pace that City have in defence. But I'm going to go, Man City win. They've got to get their season back on track somehow. And this could be a game to do it.
Could be the game to do it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Andy?
I agree with Matt. I think they'll play well. I think they'll get up for it, but you never count out Real Madrid. They're going to win it. They're serial winners of the Champions League. They've done it year upon year. They'll come back, and I think they'll actually lose the first game and then come back in the second one.
You're both suggesting you think it'll be a close game. I don't think it will be at all. I think Real Madrid will run away with this. I think that they're set up to play against City's weak defence.
Pep will remember his Barcelona days, I think, against them. He'll be ready.
And Mbappe will just tear them to shreds. He really will.
Overrated.
So the other Champions League fixtures over the course of the next couple of days. We've got Brest versus PSG.
Lol.
Don't laugh. We're not making riches on this podcast.
Probably don't get it.
I don't even know what that was. We have Sporting versus Dortmund, which I think could be fun. Sporting probably beating a struggling Dortmund. Juventus versus PSV. We have Club Bruges versus Atlanta. Celtic versus Bayern. Massive test for Celtic there. Monaco versus Benfica. And Feyenoord versus Milan.
There's a lot of games there, but I don't care.
I mean,
so maybe the Champions League isn't that great after all.
Champions League rubbish.
Miss the league games actually. Yeah, we're good.
There is, however, one game which I do want to highlight that happens midweek, and we're recording this on Monday. Will be released later in the week, so the game will probably have already happened. But that's the Merseyside Derby, Everton versus Liverpool. I think this is a massive pivotal game in the season for Liverpool. Andy, how do you see this one panning out?
It's going to be a very close one. This new manager bounce under David Moyes, they are looking strong. And it's a team at the moment you wouldn't want to come up against just because of the confidence they have after the Dyche period, which obviously, Sean Dyche, if you're watching, we're always a big fan here. But Liverpool, I mean, they have lost to Plymouth. Are the wheels coming off a bit? Probably not. They're probably going to win, but it's going to be a close one.
What are you saying, Matt? What do you think?
2-2. 2-2. Everton at home. I think it's going to be an absolute fortress to go to Goodison Park. I think it's the last Merseyside Derby as well at Goodison Park. So yeah, I think it'll be 2-2.
I think 2-2's a really, really good shout there. Yeah, and actually I don't think, given the form of Everton at the moment, that is the worst result for Liverpool. It's not awful.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this game was supposed to happen a couple of months ago when Everton were really struggling under Dyche, and I think Liverpool would have run away with it at that point. That was when Salah was scoring 2 goals and 2 assists per game.
Yeah,
but not quite. But
yeah.
we stayed down to 1 goal and 1 assist now. But yeah, I think that they will struggle. I think it'll be 2-2 as well. I do. I agree with you there.
2-2.
And it's what we should say is it's a massive week for Liverpool. So they've got a double game week into the Premier League this week, and they've got another one, which means they've actually got 3 Premier League games in the space of a week.
Yeah.
So they've got firstly this one against Everton. They've got Wolves on Sunday, and I believe it's Aston Villa next week as well.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday. So yeah, it could be 12 points clear this time. Well, Wednesday the 23rd, whatever it is, or something. That's not a date.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
They could be 12 points clear of Arsenal, and then really that's season over. You've got to say.
But they could have dropped points by then. It's a massive week.
Yeah.
I think we'll know.
Who's winning?
Yeah, who's winning the league? We'll know if Liverpool.
Whether there's a challenge.
Yeah,
Whether
there's a challenge. I agree. Great. Well, we mentioned some of the Premier League fixtures. We mentioned one: Liverpool versus Wolves.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring up the other ones. So we've got Brighton versus Chelsea, Leicester City versus Arsenal, West Ham versus Brentford, Southampton versus Bournemouth, Aston Villa versus Ipswich, Man City versus Newcastle, Fulham versus Forest, Crystal Palace versus Everton, and then finally Tottenham versus Man United.
El Saka.
So from the
Yes.
the noise you made, that sounded a bit like Gary Neville then. Andy,
Yes.
what is the game that you're going to pick out for this week?
It's a big 6-pointer in the relegation battle. It's Man United versus Spurs. It's great to see this top 6 team battling it down. Who's had a worse season? They've both been poor, but we're going to find out next week.
You don't really think they're in a relegation battle?
No, but it's nice to say it.
Yeah,
and it helps with views.
It does help with views. Yeah, view us, watch us, listen to us.
Please.
13th v 14th.
Oh God, that's tasty every year, isn't it?
That is normally a classic Fulham versus Crystal Palace. That is.
I think actually moving on to my pick, Fulham versus Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
That probably
Yes.
should be 13th versus 14th.
Yeah.
But instead, it's 2 contrasting styles. I think it's going to be an excellent game there. I think it'll probably end up being kind of 2-1 Forest or something like that.
Because they're just clinical.
This season's crazy how that's a big game.
Exactly.
That's a massive game.
They're probably 2 of the most entertaining teams, or 2 of the shocks, bar maybe Bournemouth.
Bournemouth could definitely.
So yeah, that's my pick. That's my pick.
Very good.
James, what are you?
So my pick is Man City versus Newcastle, and this is a fixture that over the last few years rarely disappoints. It's an even bigger game this year because they're actually both fighting for those Champions League places. They're actually pretty close. And to be honest, like all logic kind of suggests that this is Newcastle game to lose because they're set up perfectly to beat the City side. I think that Murphy, Isak, and Gordon will tear City's defence to shreds. Yeah. And I wrote this in here in the notes. So do you remember how like Messi, Suarez, and Neymar as MSN? I think we should start referring to Murphy, Isak, and Gordon as MIG. So MIG will tear City to shreds.
Or for Almiron.
Yeah.
To remember it.
Remember Almiron.
To remember Almiron.
MIG.
I can't remember that. That's good, yeah.
Okay, big up top. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, enough silliness. That wraps up our preview for the weekend's games. But there is one game we haven't discussed yet, and that is my game for the week. This week, Andy and Matt, you are going to be playing all-time 5-a-side Premier League Stats Edition.
Stats, the most fun thing.
Absolutely. So, what I'm going to ask of you, I'm going to ask you in turns to pick different players, but I need you to pick out the stats. So we'll have a striker theme one, so I will need you to pick a striker, and you'll be judged on how many goals they have scored in the Premier League era. Then we'll have assists, then we'll have appearances,
Right.
then we'll have tackles,
Yes.
And then we will have saves.
Saves.
Then we'll have saves.
Not
as
clean
well.
sheets.
Not clean
Saves.
sheets. Saves.
Ooh.
So this is going to be a tough one here, and
Okay.
it could be won and lost. And I may, no, I won't. I will also need a manager for this team, and that will be based on a number of games they have managed in the Premier League.
Oh.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Okay.
So where are we going to start?
Right.
Let's start from the back. Let's go with a goalkeeper to
So-
start with.
Sorry, we're getting the most stats out of all of these.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay, so
So when I ask
So-
you and I ask you for a goalkeeper, I want you to pick a goalkeeper who you think has made the most saves in the Premier League era.
Cool. Got you.
Okay.
Okay.
So Andy, we will start with you, and I'll ask you exactly that.
Okay.
So Andy, who is your goalkeeper that you're going to be playing with?
Petr Cech.
Petr Cech for Andy. Okay. We'll go around and I'll do the totting up at the end. So Andy's gone for Petr Cech.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, who is your goalkeeper?
I'm going to go for David James.
David
Oh,
James.
James.
Good one. Good
David
solid.
James.
Boo.
Okay, so those are the goalkeepers. The more well, doesn't necessarily need to be a defender here. But let's start with Matt. We'll go reverse
Most
order.
tackles.
Most tackles in the Premier League.
Oh, great name, but he's wrong.
For... Oh, this is horrible. Most tackles. Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole. Interesting.
Not so sure about
Pretty
that.
good, actually.
Ashley Cole for Matt. Andy, who are you going
I
for?
really want to say Lee Catamol, but I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
Tackles in the Premier League. I'm going to go for.
Tik Tok.
No,
Tik
I'm
Tok.
panicking. I'm
Tik
panicking.
He's
Virgil van
panicking.
Dijk.
Virgil van Dijk. That was a panic. That
Oh,
was.
it was. I was thinking of
That's
CDM.
good. Yeah.
That's a panic. Okay, right. We are moving on to all-time appearances. Andy, I need you to name your player with the most all-time
All-time appearances. Well, James Milner.
James Milner.
James Milner.
Yes.
Yes.
That was a good one there.
You got it in. So if I pick someone, he then can't
You
pick
can't
that
go
person.
no.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, Matt, your appearance maker, please.
I'll go Gary Speed.
Gary Speed, a solid one.
Yeah.
Gary Neville
Good.
attack.
Could have also both got Gareth Barry there as well.
I know.
Those are the one that I thought of. Okay, moving back to Matt. All-time assists.
Sis. Cesc Fabregas.
Says Fabregas.
Fabregas.
And Andy.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne. Neither of you got the highest assist maker.
I think I know who it is, but
Interesting.
yeah.
You just wanted to say. I want to say Cesc.
And then
Shout out Como.
Andy,
Cesc.
I need your striker for the most goals.
Most goals. Well, Alan Shearer.
Alan Shearer. I think you got the top one there. And Matt, who are you going for?
There's a hurricane. There's a hurricane.
Hurricane.
Here we go.
I
Hurricane.
like that.
And then
You got a nice
finally,
Oh, no, I didn't.
I'm going to ask a manager from both of you. We're going to start with you, Matt. What was it? The most games managed in the Premier League.
Oh, well, that's easy, isn't it? I'm not going to go for it. I'm not going to go for it. Wenger. Wenger.
Arsene
Come on,
Wenger.
Wenger. Arsene.
Arsene
Come
Wenger.
on.
Okay. And then Andy.
I'm going to say. I'm going to go for an outside shout of Roy Hodgson.
Roy Hodgson.
Roy
Okay.
Hodgson.
Yeah.
He's gone for it.
It's not the most one,
Right.
but it's more fun.
Okay. Right. I'm going to need a little bit of time to work this out. So just bear with us and we'll be back in just a jiffy. We are back and we have the final scores for the five-a-side team stats edition. So we'll go through each in order. So I started by asking to give you goalkeeper, for you to give me a goalkeeper with the most saves in the Premier League era. Andy, you went for Petr Cech. Matt, you went for David James. Petr Cech has 1,005. David James has 478.
Oh!
Can you believe that?
Shocking.
I then asked for most tackles, and it does just flip here. So Matt gave Ashley Cole, and Andy gave Virgil van Dijk. I can reveal that Ashley Cole had 616,
Fair.
and Virgil van Dijk had only 295 tackles.
Ooh, look at that.
It's a big difference there. We then went for appearances. Andy, you went with James Milner, solid shout, 637.
Nice.
He is second behind Gareth Barry overall. And Matt went for Gary Speed on 535, so 100 below, but still pretty solid.
That's pretty tight.
Then starting with Matt on assists, went for Cesc Fabregas, who I can reveal is the third in Premier League history with 111. Andy got second with Kevin De Bruyne, 118.
Didn't know that.
Way out ahead is Ryan Giggs, by the way, at about 160, 170. Way ahead.
Damn it.
And then this was the easy one.
Shucks.
So Andy took Alan Shearer for goals, 260. Matt took second, Harry Kane, 213. And then we had managers. This is where it's going to be won and lost.
Roy.
So
it's Roy's fault.
Matt picked Arsene Wenger with 828. He has the most games managed in the Premier League history. And Andy went rogue. He went Roy Hodgson and had 416. So a lot. So
Surely.
I've given a lot of numbers there. Unless your mental maths is very quick, you have no idea what's going on. You have no idea who's about to win.
Moneyball.
I can reveal that the winner of the Premier League five-a-side team stats edition is Matthew with 2,781, beating Andy by a mere 50 points.
Oh, Roy!
Finished on 2,731. So congratulations, Max.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem at all. Shake his hand.
Place. That's a good game. We'll play.
Bro.
Fascia. So that does mean that we go full circle and it'll be Andy that will be doing the game next week.
With 0 points in this so far, but I'm getting the game ready next week. Come on.
Excellent. Well, I'm afraid that's it, folks. That's it. It's time. Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you very much, Matt. Please, as always, listen to our Spotify, watch our YouTube, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Any closing remarks?
Always use Riverside.
Always use Riverside.
Thank you very much, James. That was a really good game.
Excellent. Well, one more thing to say, and that's just to remember that until next time, it's on your head, son.
Not off your head.
Son.
Yes.
Yeah.